Good. Neat. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so DevSync, I figured out all of the issues that I had with the pipeline and on HiveMind. I can now run all the tests locally. I found out that it's not that bad. It's mostly that since I'm adding new tests, the ID of all of the individual posts gets shuffled a bit. And since when we compare to JSON, we compare directly ID to ID, the ID are not correct. So on the surface, 200 tests are failing, but in reality, it's fine.
So does that mean you just add your stuff to the end after the existing tests?
I don't think that works because basically I guess maybe oh, no, I cannot because the indexing runs and then the API tests are executed. And so if I add even one extra thing, I guess maybe I could add it all the way to the end.
Well,
yeah, that's what I mean, add it at the end.
Huh.
I think it depends where did you put your mock commands, your mock operations. And it is quite complex stuff, unfortunately. And here, to be sure that you don't have any side effects to other tests, you should create a new account you would like to operate on and put all your specific new operations specific to your new tests to last blocks or new blocks you will add artificially to the sync. Because if you will add your tests, your mock operations to some earlier blocks, you always can impact existing tests, and especially if you add your operations to some of existing accounts, you also can impact API results specific to such accounts. So if you would like to simplify your life and eliminate risk of changing other test results, best if you will create a new account. So let's search for mock tests for account create operation and similarly create your own testing account and execute all your specific operations just using this account in one of last blocks executed by HiveMind sync. There are added some artificial blocks which really not exist in Hive, and usually such blocks have number greater than 5 million. As I remember right now, we have 26 artificial blocks. And what's important, if you decide to add another one, you need to change in the script running continuous integration a maximum block we would like to sync, for example, to 30 blocks, if you would like to add 4 more blocks. This is safest way to adding completely new tests. Also, you said that some IDs were changed. As I remember, our pattern-based tests in some parts are ignoring changes in IDs. I mean, IDs generated by database itself, because sometimes we are putting into API responses such IDs for several reasons, usually because of historical needs and to be common to previous responses. But because we also in the past had similar problems, and usually such IDs are completely ignorable for API clients, we added such option to enable ignoring their values. What doesn't not mean that some records can be missed, just values of IDs can be changed. I don't remember right now how to enable it, but I will try to find it after meeting and send you on Mattermost information about it.
Okay, cool.
But safest way is add new account, and every operation you would like to generate data for API calls to last blocks. And this way you are eliminating side effects to other tests.
My main problem with one of those, which is preventing people from setting, like, let's say, a moderator accounts, unless you're not subscribed to the community, is that if I don't add new ops now here and there, the previous what happened previously would not work correctly. Like, because one of the merge requests does that, and so that means the test suite where it's like, oh, create a test Safari and then set test Safari as a moderator, and then let's test Safari mute someone. All of that would fail because test Safari wouldn't be able to be moderator unless he's subscribed. So that's where a bunch of stuff changed. For communities v2 though, yeah, I'll definitely, I think I'll add everything at the end to make it easier to work on. But yeah, apart from that, I looked again a bit on Rosetta API, but we'll talk about it later. I saw your comments on the VOP merge request, but I don't think there was a reply from someone else.
Comment related to flow file?
Oh yeah, also, I mean, I'll talk about the, I think I have a thing about the flow, but we can talk about it now.
You remember other merge requests.
Yeah, yeah, you pinged Trella about if we needed the legacy, the new legacy type or not. And yeah, oh, that was a week ago, but I don't think there was a response. No, there wasn't. So we'll see. But I can update that one if needed.
Generally, my question was related to fact that a few months ago we have implemented some mechanism in Hive, which allows to eliminate explicit data structure for legacy operations. I mean,
cool. Okay.
Eliminate a need to define such structures for operations which we are adding right now, just to have to complete algorithm related to condenser API history etc., which are serializing them in old fashion. So I think there is no need still to add such types. And we should try to use just this old serializer, and I think it just doesn't not need an action from you, because this serializer should be automatically applied to the calls which require old serialization. So probably all what we need is just remove structures specific to legacy form of new operations which you added.
Yeah, and pass it directly, I guess. Yeah, I'll change the merge request to have that, and yeah, and then we should be good, I guess. And I guess that's it for my sync. Yeah, I have to go back to it.
Okay. So let's see where we at. A bunch of stuff going on, doing a lot of validation of the existing code, I guess, is probably a lot of major effort right now. So we've been working on, as part of that validation, we've been trying to get the MirrorNet stuff working, and we keep fixing and finding problems and fixing them, and hopefully we'll have that to a point where we can start doing some testing soon. I'm not sure what the current blocker is. Maybe Bartek, what's the current status with the MirrorNet code?
There is at fixing last problem related to changing format of signature at some past hard fork.
Right, that canonical signature issue.
Yes, exactly. And I hope it will be fixed in next 2 hours. So hopefully we will be able to start a new conversion tonight and have some results tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. And other testing, as I mentioned in my post, we did a lot of testing of the peer-to-peer changes, and so far those have came out pretty well. I'm still running it on production, so our Hive that we're providing is a production is using that right now, and it seems to be having no problems. We also tested Hive briefly on the account history, and as some people noticed, that did generate some problems. So we're back to using a regular account history node for that now. So we're looking at further optimization of the Hive-based account history code. So hopefully we'll have something in a few more days to try again with, I guess. Let's see what else. So that's Hive. The other thing going on in Hive, we're still working on the RC stuff. There was a merge just committed recently to it, but I haven't actually looked to see even what that did, so I can't comment on that much. If Andre was, no, it doesn't look like Andre's here. He might have been able to comment, but otherwise I can't say what that's about. And other stuff in Hive, we're working on the finality changes, the block finality changes. And that's still kind of an early phase, but it's progressing pretty well so far. And like I said, I'll write a post about that probably this week, I think, if everything goes well, not next week. Let's see. So that's Hive. There's, I guess, one other thing on Hive is, and maybe Bartek can answer this one, is where are we at with the regex stuff? I saw the regex for filtering of SQL serialized data to the Hive. Is that, are we waiting testing on that right now, or is there still some implementation needed on that?
As I know, this feature is implemented. It was basically tested, and probably we need for some bigger testing related to some more complex filtering. But basic
okay, so maybe I'll try that.
Basic cases have been tested.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do some runs today, probably on with that. I'll try it on the full block, and I'll do some performance measurements as well to see how fast it is when we start filtering on various things. Okay, so that's something for me to do. Let's see. We've been doing a lot more benchmarking of Hive in various configurations. One thing I think just found interesting today was I was trying to speed up so when we first do a SQL serializer run to basically take all the data from the blockchain and stick it into Hive, there's 2 times involved. One is sticking the data itself in, the blockchain data, and then there's also creating indexes afterwards to basically make that data quickly accessible via SQL queries. So I'm lately been doing some experiments with tuning of Postgres to see if we can speed up the creation of those indexes, because they can take a while on machines without really fast IO systems. So whereas in our benchmarking, I think they take around 3 hours on our super fast systems where they have like 4 NVMEs rated together, 4 fast NVMEs at that. It gets significantly longer on slower machines. I've been testing on 2 X-RAIDs and seen times of around 6-7 hours. So I'm doing some experiments to cut that down now. And I did have a little progress today. I cut it down from, I guess, 8,400 seconds down to, looks like 6,700 seconds. Everybody's trying to translate that into hours, which isn't easy. But and that was just by increasing the work memory that's used for the index creation. So I think what we can probably do is temporarily increase the work memory just during the time we do the initial sync, and then set it back to a more normal value afterwards. Let's see what else. There's been a lot of other benchmarking of that sort. I've probably run about 20 or 30 Hive SQL serializer runs over the past couple of days. Just trying to, one of the things I've been looking at a lot is how it works on ZFS, because with ZFS file system, we can compress the data, and we get the data down to about 1.3 terabytes, which is obviously a lot better than 2.7 terabytes, especially since that allows it to fit inside smaller 2 terabyte drives. So I think that all looks really good. I haven't seen any serious degradation there. There's probably a slight performance loss from the API side, as far as I can tell, but nothing significant enough to make it not worth the gain in terms of cheaper storage, I think. Let's see what else. So that's Hive, Hive. Trying to think what else is going on. There's still more work going on the wallet API code. I think I guess we're close to finishing that. How are we looking there, Bartek?
Yes, hopefully final fixes and further tests will be delivered this week. As I told today to guy which is preparing tests in cooperation to developer fixing the code. They both hope that work will be finished maybe in next two days.
Okay, sounds good. That's probably good enough as an overview now. I mean, I'm not covering everything that's going on, but it's a lot of people working on right now on different projects. And it's just hard to track them all. So that's just a rough overview, I guess. So Hal, if you want to take it back.
Cool. Yeah, just regarding the indexes, are you making sure that it doesn't, because we had that issue a while ago where during sync, the disk requirements would go very high and then they would like kind of break some configurations. Are you making sure that allocating during the index creating won't go too high? Well, I guess it's memory. We could just add some swap for that time.
Yeah, I mean, the memory isn't going too high, that's for sure. But
Okay.
I mean, basically, I'm increasing the default. The default is something ridiculously low, like 64 megabytes for
okay.
work memory.
Okay, very good.
and I'm setting it to 4 gigabytes.
Okay, but can we afford such expense? I don't know.
It's ridiculously small limit. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Postgres is supposed to run, on any system anywhere, so that they just set it to this really small value. But
also, I don't think that many are using Postgres to such an extent as we are. So
well, I mean, I think it's actually a common. In fact, I found this recommendation by looking at some other places where it's not an uncommon thing for people to do, which is when they want to fill a database fast, they first turn off all their indexes, fill the data in the tables, and then create the indexes afterwards, which is exactly what we're doing with the SQL serializer too. It's just faster than leaving the indexes around and filling the data. So this is a common need, I think, this ability to then rapidly create the indexes afterwards. And I was just reading through basically a paper that gave different ways to speed that process up and trying the different suggestions they had. And the one that seemed to give us the most bang for the buck right now was that increase of memory. Now, I've only tested in a combination with one of their other changes, which was to increase the number of parallel workers. So I don't know if it will be as effective without increasing parallel workers. That's the next experiment I need to try. So as a default, you only get 2 parallel workers to create an index table, and I've got it set to 4 now. But I've set it to 4 without setting the memory up, and it didn't seem to have much impact. So I think it's going to turn out to be the memory is the critical feature, but it still needs to be tested.
Okay, sounds good. So I had a thing on the HBD progressive lockup. I don't know if we should talk about it today because I'm not.
Could you say that again?
Sorry, the progressive HBD lockup. Basically, as now that we have raised it to 20%, there are a bunch of discussions in the community regarding HBD, and to a bigger extent to HB, and basically to locking to instead of locking it up for 3 days, you could lock it up for a longer term, but for higher returns. And you are guaranteed to have the 20% for that time, and that's kind of the ideas that are floating around. And I put it in there because I thought it would be interesting, but at the same time, it's very early. So yeah, we can talk about it or we cannot. I'm open to both.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Taskmaster's original idea on it, which was a 1-year lockup, fairly straightforward. I don't like having a lot of these different amounts of time. I think it just gets more complicated to,
yeah,
just
I mean,
for marketing.
I mean, progressive can be, by progressive encompasses many ideas. We could have 3 days or 1 year and have both at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, it could be like preset things. And same could be set to Hive power where you could lock it up for a long term, or you could lock it up for less, but have way less benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so keen on messing with Hive power so much.
Yeah,
I think it's simpler to do things with HBD. It's not as so critical to the system in fundamental ways. I thought his idea with the not only the 1 year, but also locking the rate at 1 year. I thought that was kind of clever because it does give people that are concerned about a variable rate, it gives a way to supply a fixed rate. I think that itself is a valuable thing to do.
Mm.
So that's really, I think, one of the things that really captured why I like the bond idea is the way you expressed it. And I think we should do that. I'm obviously not in this hard fork, however. I mean,
what if we delay this hard fork by 6 months?
Yeah, then we could do it, no doubt.
Yeah, great. And yeah, I agree with Gandalf who says like keep it stupid simple. Because yeah, a bunch of HBD as a system is already getting a bit complex. When people want to convert back and forth, some stuff can get complicated, and we should try to make the pitch as simple as possible. Where yeah, it's 3 days or a year, and that's it.
That's my
so yeah, Rosetta API, we talked a bit about it offline. Yeah, I don't think it's worth pursuing right now. We have higher value things to work on.
But the Rosetta API, right, for Coinbase, or Kraken, or whichever, forget which it is. I can't remember which one. Yeah, yeah, it sounded like from what GP said, there might be an issue of other issues before we could get, even if we implemented it. So I think we need to get those questions answered before we bother to go ahead and work on that.
Oh, I know why stuff is going like this. It's because we no longer have Zoom Premium. So this meeting will end in 10 minutes. So with that in mind, so yeah, the last point was about the HiveMind flow.txt. I found out that it was inaccurate for at least the community's mocks. And so I ran like a small POC where I basically passed the mocked blocks to generate the flow.txt and found like a bunch of differences. And yeah, I'm basically wondering if it would be worth to basically always generate it and not try to edit it by hand, because obviously that creates some discrepancies. And then when you try to look at the flow, you do not actually get the what actually happens on the mocks.
So this is probably a question for Bartek, since I have no idea what the flow.txt is.
Yeah, Bartek was more on the fence about this, and he wanted to have things still done by hand. But yeah, mocks that the mock file are getting bigger and bigger. I don't know if it's really feasible at this point.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how can I help right now. Can you explain it more?
Yeah, I could. I can share my screen. I don't have it right here. But yeah, long story short, the flow.txt is just a file that describes in very simple terms what happens on the mock file. So the mock file is a JSON that contains all of the blocks, and I mean the mocked blocks. And it's like, oh, we created an account, then we did that, then we did that. And so the flow.txt is just one line equals one up, and it goes like this. The issue that I found is that the flow is updated by hand, and there are errors on the flow.txt, because when you look at the JSON value in the mocks and you look at what's going on the flow.txt, the two don't match. And so
I have a question. What is the flow.txt used for? Is it just documentation?
Nothing. Yeah, it's basically documentation.
Such files, because such flow files are located in several mock subdirectories, have rather documentation purposes than some automatically generated text. I don't know. So our intention was to enforce authors of tests to describe their intent, what they would like to encode in the mock files and store in sometimes complex way, and have some reference for the future and for others to simplify analysis what given tests can try to verify. So I don't see here any way to create some automation which will be generating flow files, because as I said, rather this is documentation part. That's true that in this directory, this file is maybe not best, it could be much better described what happens there. But rather, this is a task for human, not for computer. Probably it looks like computer output right now, and is not so much readable for humans.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, flow.txt is supposed to describe what the test does in a human readable form, but in practice.
Yes, because usually sometimes even multiple mock files are containing operations specific to a single test scenario, and especially that sometimes we need to split mock operations into multiple blocks to verify behavior of Hive mind. And that makes the things really complex to code there and to store it. That was a reason why we started to create such files, to have somewhere any description what happens there.
Okay, so there's supposed to be documentation. In this case, it just tended to not be the, I guess it wasn't documented well, and maybe it didn't accurately reflect the test.
Yeah, yeah, basically it's the flow is just it's mostly like the block, everything that happened on the mocks and described in a more human readable format. So I did a POC to a proof of concept to basically convert from the mock to more human readable formats, which I believe I don't think it would be more like something automated, more like basically use that script more often to generate the flow.txt when we do an update to the test flows.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an okay idea. If you can generate something from the test that actually is more readable, that doesn't seem bad. I mean, it seems useful, and even if it requires further annotation afterwards by a human, could still serve some benefit.
Yeah, I guess I could do something too. The only thing missing from that is annotations. Yes, so but I can. Yeah, I guess if it's automated, we can like look at the git diff and then add the annotations that were erased by regenerating it. So yeah, I just wanted to know if that sounded like an interesting idea or not, and if I should like pursue on that proof of concept. So I guess I'll look into it a bit more so that I can expand it to the other mock files and see how that goes. And then we can like have, I'll make that into a separate merge request so that we can discuss about it directly.
Okay.
And okay, that's everything to me. Guilty Parties wanted to speak about the renaming HBD to something else.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can do it in 3 minutes, so I guess we'll postpone it.
Yeah.
But I think the short answer is going to be darn it.
I mean, it's a fair amount of I don't think Guilty just said he's not for it. He just.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sorry. I think it's personally. I think it's probably a lot of work. Certainly, I mean, I don't see us changing the code, right? So I think that's too much work to do. So all we'd be doing is talking about is basically a marketing change, and then I think we're going to have confusion underneath about, because everything is still HBD. So to me, it looks like I don't think it's worth the cost. I just don't see it. Yeah,
that's a fair point. I agree with that.
I mean, we can call them Hive dollars if somebody wants to, and they are called Hive. That one of their names is Hive dollar. I think that's just clear enough. So I don't know. I'm not even sure if the debate is mainly about the name or the symbol. It felt more like it was about the symbol than anything else. They wanted to match something that looked like Tether, which again I think is only confusing. So
yeah, that's it for the switch. Thank you, everyone. Do you have anything else?
I don't.
In less than 2 minutes. Yeah, okay, I'll see how to fix the Zoom for next time. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye.